Hey, good evening, Meeps. We are live on Wednesday with our first official guest-bearing episode of the season. Tonight, it is party time.
Woo!
All right, everybody. That is so exciting. I'm so excited to start the new season of the Meeple Syrup Show, and it's extra exciting to start with parties. So, Sen, why don't you tell us and everybody else who's watching, our three guests who have tuned in right away. Congrats, everybody. You're first. Sen, who do we got with us today? Who are the contestants on our game show?
That would actually be fun. We have in the top left corner. It's like circle against a square. What's that? Hollywood Corners. In the top left corner, we have Jeff Lai. Jeff is a Canadian designer from the Toronto, Ontario area. Are you originally from Toronto? Or are you from Calgary? I know you were out in Calgary.
I'm not really. What do you mean? Originally, like, where was I born?
No. I mean, like in Canada stuff.
Yeah, no. I grew up in Oakville, so
Okay.
I'm an Oakville guy. I was in Calgary briefly.
Okay. And in the bottom right corner, I don't know if they're in the same corner for everybody, but we have Pam Walls. Pam is also in Toronto right now, and she is a great designer, and she runs a wonderful convention called Proteo, at which most of us will be at, except for Jesse, because he's in California.
Ooh.
Boo, Jesse, boo. So yeah, that's what we're doing. We're talking to these two fine folks in terms of what's going on in their game design lives, and specifically we're going to talk about party games because these two stalwarts of the industry are wonderful party game designers, two people who actually kind of specialize in making games that are fast and fun and engaging for a large audience all at the same time. So I think that's a special niche that we need to talk about. Hey, Jess.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, is this actually going live?
Yeah. We're live.
Live on my end.
We've got 6
Keep
viewers.
going, then.
We've had Andrew and Jamie and Eric and Ming have said hi in the chat. Jim's
Good.
here.
That's real.
No.
I
I just can't see it on my feed. Oh, there it is. We're live now.
Trust Jesse and keep going.
No. Normally, I get this
Don't
little
trust
message that says you've gone live, and there's no message.
Travis is even telling you that we're live.
I know, we're live. I can read it now. I'm reading the feed. This is good.
All right.
So, yes, we're live. Good. All right. So, enough of Sen being an old man and kind of get off my lawning. Tell us a thing or two about yourself. We'll start with Pam. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm from Calgary, so maybe
are you?
there you go. Someone was. Yeah, I knew that was in there somewhere. So I'm originally from Calgary. I do specialize in party game design because those are the games I love to play, and they're the game design ideas that come to me the most often. Like you mentioned, I'm the founder and organizer for Proteo. Erica helped run the first one, and she's going to do the keynote at this one, which I'm super excited for. She's going to talk about creativity and tap into her mind about how she can come up with so many ideas so fast. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
I also founded Board Game Broads, which is a Facebook group and forum for women who design games and gender nonconforming folks to have a space to discuss game design. My party game Hold That Face was published by Hasbro last year as part of their short-lived game subscription box. Now it's going out into the wild on its own. It's going to be on Amazon soon, so that's exciting. And now I'm just working on other games that I want to get out there as well.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And Jeff, what about you? Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm originally Oakville, and that's where I am now. But I was briefly in Calgary for like 3 years. I love it there. I design a bunch of stuff. But originally I was in toys. So I did toys. For a while I was in toys. Me and my friend have a company called Keji. We still do. But we moved into games. And I dabbled a little bit with some strategy games too. And I have a Kickstarter out right now. I'll talk about that later. But otherwise I do a bunch of party/family games, which are also games that I love to play. I made a game called, this year, Blue Orange did Mackie Stack. Smirk and Dagger did a game called Not So Fast. It's a reaction game. Outset Media is doing How Do You Doodle and Woo and I think that's what I got this year. And yeah, so fun stuff. I love playing party games and family games, especially with family and at parties.
That's convenient.
That sort of makes sense. That sort of makes sense. All right, so let's open up the floor. Questions from Jesse or Erica? What do you think? Anything?
Yeah, actually, I had some, but it's funny enough. Pam started answering a lot of my questions in her intro, so that's always good too.
You're welcome.
It's like you're
Actually-
connected by the brain.
I know, it's like actually funny you weren't here when I could interpret what she was saying when we couldn't hear her. So actually, I have an interesting question to kind of start it off, maybe even a discussion. Is where do you guys see party games? Are they mass, hobby, or both?
I mean, in general, they're probably mostly mass market. You do see games that are sort of crossing that divide, like Codenames, but I don't really think it's a party game. But a lot of gamers think that it is. So,
Tricked everyone.
but yeah, mostly I think they're probably mass. But I like to do like thoughtful party games that aren't just like trying to flush a toilet, you know. So,
Or step in poop?
yeah, or
Yeah.
rip tape off your face. Oh my god,
I don't know.
But,
Eat stuff, step in stuff, whatever. Yeah, okay.
So yeah, I mean, it does range, but mostly, I mean, in general, they seem to be mass market type games. But I think Jeff also does games that do try to make you think a little bit as well, but mostly connect with the other people at the table is the most important thing.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, I like that. How about you, Jeff? What do you think in terms of your design ethic when it comes to party games specifically? What's your goal? What do you want to see people doing?
Well, I mean, in connecting to the previous question, I think I see them mostly as mass as well. And so when I'm thinking of party games, I am thinking of, what would make audiences just have a ton of fun and laugh, and there's that kind of excitement and payoff of something happening and everyone laughing really hard. So I think usually that's my goal, is to make a table crack up and want to play again. I'm sure that's true even for non-party games, but you kind of get a bit more of an instant gratification. You don't have to wait 45 minutes till the end. You usually can find out pretty quick, if something is a good party game or a good family game, almost instantly, depending on if people are laughing.
Yeah,
And
that's an
apparently-
interesting way to categorize it, I guess. It's like, as you said, because I was going to ask you guys a little. Jeff just fell. I was going to
Rolling on the
ask
floor
you,
laughing.
This is speaking of laughing.
That's the new game, guys.
Drop your phone.
drop the phone. Drop the phone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't
what
step
kind of
on it.
experience you're looking to deliver. And as Jeff was saying, is like, you want that instant gratification. So I was curious then, where do the ideas kind of come from for those? Is it like you're experiencing moments and you're like, this is a game? Or is it something that you're mix of fun rather than that, as we say in games, like, what's the fun? Yours is like, okay, how much fun can I have as fast as possible? So I'm really curious where that kind of comes from. Why don't we go with Jeff? Maybe hang on to the phone.
Okay, I'm holding on. I'm no longer placing it. It was on my bag, but now it's in my hand. I think I say that most of my ideas come from sort of experiencing something, and then it kind of lighting an idea in my head. So whether I'm playing like a camp game, or I'm playing just playing with friends, like just like you ever have like those activities that you do, whether it be at school or at camp or at church, and then there's almost like this little trigger of like, that's kind of cool. Like, that's really fun. I wonder if that could become a game. That's one big part of where I get my ideas. And the other one is usually just from, like I mentioned before, I used to be in the toy world. So sometimes you see a cool toy or gimmick, and you think, this could be something bigger, not bigger, but different, more of a game that people can sit down and enjoy together versus just one little gimmick or doohickey. So I think those are some of the places that inspire.
Cool. Pam, you fired some shots earlier directly at code names. And I'm just wondering why. Why don't you think
Yeah,
that's
I
a
fired
party
shots at
game? That's
toilet
my
trouble
first
too.
question. Yeah.
Pardon?
Why don't you think that's a party game? I'm just wondering.
Yeah, so I have a sort of framework that I work within with designing games that are all party games, and it's also what I use to gauge other games to see if I think it would be classified as a party game. And I call it the self system. It's a way for me to remember it. So there has to be social interaction, has to be easy to learn, there has to be laughter, like Jeff said, which I think is a key component. And one of the most important, it has to be fast paced, or at least well paced. And I'm sorry, Codenames, I love you, but wow, you're slow. Like, it's just, if the room is quiet for extended periods of time, you want that party to end. You want people to go home. You're tired. You want to go to sleep.
That's not a party, it's a get together.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a get together game for sure.
Interesting. So Jason Wiseman on the feed, he's Jason Anarchy. He created like Drunk Quest and things like that. He said, party games are more about facilitating a good time between friends and less about making a game that will stand up over time. Interesting. Interesting.
Huh.
But then he also said the caveat that, yeah, there are way too many poop games. So if Jason Anarchy says there's too many poop games, I think there's too many poop games.
Oh, you should see the games targeted at children right now.
I know.
They just make me cringe.
Guys, I have to be honest. I'm working on a poop game. I'm supposed to put my hand right there. This guy.
Oh no!
So I will defend. I will defend.
Madness.
I will defend poop games to the death. Poop is funny. It's always funny.
Okay. I mean, kids like squishy things. I'll give you that.
That's funny. I would strongly disagree with Jason there. I think a lot of party games have stood the test of time. I have Balderdash, which I will play forever and have played forever. Most of the games that I play on the most regular basis, I've had for years and years and years, and I will play for a long time. They don't lose. Well, I mean that shows a really great game just in general, but a great party game. I don't think that party games are fleeting. I mean, a lot of trendy party games are very fleeting, but if you come up with a good game that connects people and there's laughter, those games will last a long time. Catchphrase is my go-to party game. Every time I bring it out, people have a great time, and I will bring it out when I'm 80 at the old folks home.
I agree.
Andrew Wolf is saying the same thing. Lots of party games like Taboo, Telestrations have stood the test of time. So,
there definitely does seem to be, I guess, and I think maybe what Jason's pointing at is, I guess there's two types coming out right now. Because I got to say, Gen Con alone, there was a ton of party games, but they were, I hate to say it, just for me playing them, kind of the one and done. Like, that was funny, but I don't know if I want to do that again.
Yeah.
I don't really want to mention any, but there's a few of them. I'm like, okay, I get what you're doing. We definitely giggled. We had, it was silly. It was funny. I don't want to own it though, is my only thing with some of them. But I get what Pam's saying too, is there's an enduring quality to one that I think you can often connect with good times, right? Like if you can remember very positive associations over and over again, especially family and friends with something, you're gonna have a special fondness for that game. And maybe party games hold that a little stronger than some others.
Well,
they might, yeah. I mean there's all that big memory, right?
Right. Well, I mean, that's kind of interesting that you say that party games hold that better than some others, because, I mean, at least last year there was a long discussion in the game design forums and Facebooks about what makes great games great, and the one thing that everybody seemed to agree on was that great games are games that reliably provide good quality, memorable experiences.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think I mentioned this when I was chatting when you were having a show about something different, but just talking about, creating experiences. I think it was, you were talking about theme versus mechanic and not, false dichotomy. About how party games create experiences, and I think that's what I really love about it. I think Jeff does that so well with his games, that just like creating that memorable experience more so than anything, I think is why they do last a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I've got a fun one I want to give to Jeff. And then Pam can come to it too. I'm actually curious, what's one of your favorite experiences in a game you've made? Because you make fun games. I've played a few of them. I haven't played all your games yet. I played Mackie Stack, and I played the Not So Fast. And I think I've probably play tested some other ones. But what experience have you made and you're like, this is one of my favorites?
Oh, it feels weird talking about that because like these are in a way you're kind of tooting your own horn. But
No, I want to
you
hear.
know what?
I want to hear.
This is one kind of an example where I don't know. I'm sure you guys know as game designers, sometimes you don't play one of your games for a while, right? Because you're just working on new stuff and whatever. So the new game, How Do You Doodle? I haven't played it in a while. Like ever since I signed it and they started moving forward, I just hadn't had time to revisit that game. So actually, even last week, I was demoing it at a cafe, and the experience of in that game, basically everyone's drawing things. There's 3 things you're supposed to draw potentially, but you don't know which one of those 3. They're all synonyms. So everyone's drawing basically the same thing, but you want to make yours look different. And then just that moment of like revealing those images, everyone looking and being like, "What is that? Like, what is that?" And even like asking like, "What did you draw?" And I'm like, "Come on, man, you don't see what I drew? It's right. Like, it's so obvious." Like that's that kind of visceral feeling is to me a great experience with party games, and I felt kind of nice being like, "Oh, good. I'm glad this game is fun." Because sometimes I have to admit that sometimes there's always like a little bit of self-doubt, and it's really good when people laugh and when you laugh, and you know it's a good time, and it's gonna be memorable.
Yeah, absolutely. Just when people laugh, that is the greatest thing for me. When I know that they're having a good time, so much so that they laugh out loud, that is such a great feeling, and that makes me feel like, okay, I'm on the right track.
They don't just type LOL. That's not good enough.
No, they actually do it. IRL, LOL. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, just that I don't know if there's one specific moment, but I guess just in general, as any game designer, you want to hear those words of, I want to play that again. And whenever you hear that, you're like, oh, okay, this is awesome. Like, that was so much fun. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One more round.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
okay.
No.
I was going to say questions from the audience. Jen Raby wants to know what your favorite party games are.
Cool.
So,
I already mentioned my top one is Catchphrase. It's super fun, very fast paced, which is what I think I like about it most. Very easy to learn. Other ones are Taboo, great one. Speechless actually is a pretty new one, but it's really good. It's a twist on charades where people are acting things out, but you're writing down your guess silently. You're not yelling things out. And then after people act out like 5 or 6 things, you go over everyone's list of their guesses. And if you're right, you get 2 points. If you're wrong, you still get a point if one other person also gets that same wrong answer. So that's kind of cool. Just like connecting with people in that way, thinking the same way. That's always an interesting thing. That's always a great way to connect with people. Just be like, oh, we thought the exact same way. That's what's cool about Jeff's drawing game too. I mentioned Balderdash. Those are probably some of my favorites.
That's so much like years ago. And then this summer I was in China, of all places, and someone busted out a copy of Game of Things. And I was like, what? Oh, man, I haven't played that in so long. So I got to play it with a bunch of Chinese students. And that was a good reminder how fun that was. And what comes to mind is also reverse charades. I know it's really just charades, but we're kind of like flipped around. You guys played that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
haven't actually played it, but I've heard of it.
Oh, yeah. So like one person is the guesser, but everyone else is acting. So and a lot of the words are like kind of you need to cooperate. So like one of them is like solar system. So like everyone's just kind of rotating around each other, trying to like do a solar system. Just a game like that. It's kind of a simple twist on an old game, but I'm like peeing myself laughing when I play that game.
That's a sign of excellence.
Exactly. That's really
level.
the key to a good party game is if your pants are wet.
Yes.
is that why they make so many poop games? They just like miss the message.
Thematic, guys.
How about you, Erica and Jesse? What are your favorite party game experiences, Erica?
That's a hard one. Actually, you know what I've been thinking when you guys were talking? I was thinking about two of them that we tend to play when it's really late night at a con because they get so ridiculous thinking about laughter. So one would be Time's Up. Seems to be a constant one that comes up a lot where it just gets more and more ridiculous as you go. And then I think another one, so this is one that was kind of made up, but going down along, I actually think Boulder Dash is a great game as well. So at one point, I don't remember who invented it. It might have been Eric Lang, but we started playing terrible movie named Boulder Dash. So what he would do is we'd go onto IMDb, pull like the worst rated movie you could possibly find because they always have the best titles. And we wouldn't even look at what the real thing is, but we'd all actually write what we think, what our description of the movie would be. And then we'd all text them to Eric and he'd read them all aloud and we'd pick the one that sounded like the best movie. Oh my god, they're awful, but so much fun.
Can you just make that into a game? Does that not exist yet?
Well, one of the Boulder Dash versions has one like that, the title of a movie, you come up with the plot. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's
well,
cool.
I'd have to credit Eric Lang. So.
But Eric Lang just got that added to his list. There you go.
Yeah.
Jesse, what about you?
Oh, okay. Sorry. Am I on? I'm on. Okay. Yeah, so I was going to say Time's Up because basically whenever I find myself in the company, so I often do a lot of travel for academics and then I try to play board games with people, but traveling with a bunch of board games in my suitcase makes it hard to travel only carry on. However, I can strike up a game of Time's Up as long as I can find some paper. So I've played Time's Up more than any other game this summer because I make academics play Time's Up all the time at conferences because it's so easy to just like explain and then get it rolling. Sorry, R&R, that I'm not using the official, but
you're promoting it.
I am promoting it. So.
I mean, people have been playing that way before R&R made it. People have been playing Tell a Story way before that was,
that's right.
Packaged. So
yeah, Time's Up for sure. The other one that I've been making on paper and introducing people to, and I don't know, Pam, whether or not this fits your definition of a party game, but at least when we're drinking, it definitely does. The Skulls and Roses, which
I've heard of it. I haven't played it.
Yeah, it's like a really bare bones version of Liar's Dice.
It's a very
like push your luck.
Oh, Liar's Dice is another fun one because you just need to gouge a bunch of dice from boxes. We do that all the time.
It's surprisingly hard when you're not in a board gamer's house to find enough D6s to play Liar's Dice.
True.
What, you don't walk around with 30 D6 all the
time? Liar's Dice is a great one late at night, too.
You guys ever notice? Yeah. You guys notice that in Asia, every restaurant has Liar's Dice on every single table?
Do they?
Like across all of Hong Kong and China, literally. You cannot walk into a bar and not have like 6 cups with, 6 dice each or whatever in each cup. It's like rattling. Like that's all you hear when you go into a restaurant. You just hear like rattling and people telling each other to drink.
I don't think I went to that many bars. I was in Beijing though. I wasn't in Hong Kong, but I don't remember seeing that. But that could have just been me.
Sen,
you just weren't going to the right restaurant.
China.
I didn't go to the right bars, guys.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Sen, you're the only one that hasn't told us what's your favorite party game.
What's that?
My favorite party game? Oh.
Oh, wait, there's more.
I really do like that one, but that's kind of biased.
That was supposed to be the follow-up question, Pam.
All right.
Yeah. No, I think Eric was just mentioning it in the feed that Happy Salmon is one of his favorites. And I'm gonna mention Happy Salmon just because it sort of gets away from some of the things that we've been talking about in terms of more cerebral wordplay and drawing skills. And Happy Salmon is just hyperkinetic, balls to the wall kind of movement and fun and pressure and time. And you're all participating, but only one person wins, but you still all feel like you won because you had a really fun time laughing about, slapping your hands like salmons. It's a really neat game because of the form factor, the cards, the just ease of play and teaching. And Jesse talks about his ability to teach that game in 2 seconds, I think, Jess?
In 2 seconds. Yeah, you can teach the game in 2 seconds. You just start playing it.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
And it also...
go!
Yeah, and it also has this other really cool effect in that it draws people to it. So we could
Yeah.
sell out of Happy Salmon in like 2 weeks at the game store when I worked there 2 summers ago, just by choosing when we would do a demo. You get a family that came in and it's just afternoon and you know that the traffic's going to start coming up as people come into the store. Do a demo right then. People come in, they see people playing that, they gravitate to it because what do you see? You see a group of 5 people smiling, laughing, and shouting, "I need a high five! I need a high five!" And you're like, I want to do that. And then they all walk away with the game.
Hey, have you played the Funky Chicken, like the sequel to Happy Salmon?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
so
people
like
don't like to dance as much. I've noticed they think they like that
Really?
a
Oh,
little more.
This one need
I
a
have a
Fortnite
copy of that one.
crossover?
And this summer I played it like crazy. It's so fun. Like, you're just like sweating because it's just so much like body contact. I admit people probably don't like it as much, but it depends on the crowd you're with.
Oh yeah. Oh no, kids love it. It's just funny. But
Yes.
adults are so like reserved. They're like, no, you get friends going at it. It's funny.
I think it's an interesting thing, though, like what you're saying. So Jamie had earlier commented that the games that really don't go over well with his group in terms of party games are games that force you to look stupid, or force you to feel
Yeah.
like you look stupid, or act stupid, or do stupid things. For some of my friends, like Quelf is the best thing ever. And
Oh,
for other of my friends, Quelf is like the worst thing ever. I guess it just depends on personality, right? And, does it fit the self model? If we're talking Pam's self model, maybe it does, but still, there's going to be party games that do fit that mold that still people don't like or love, and they don't like other ones, and I think that's okay. I wanted to get to this because I know it's going to come up at some point, so I might as well just, clear the air right now and ask you all about are party games really games or are they activities?
Mm.
I'll be fair. Sometimes they're toys, even. So this is an interesting one.
Yeah, so let's start with Pam. What do you think? Are party games really games, or are they activities? Or are they sometimes toys?
They're sometimes toys.
well, I mean, for anything, it depends on the game, right? If you don't have a point system, it's probably not a game. If you do have a point system, but you don't use it really, like telestrations, then I would say that's an activity. I guess in general, the idea is not about winning; it's about having fun. So I guess that's where you could say it's not really a game. But I guess the games that I make, I still want people to be invested in it. That they do want to win it. They want to have fun, but they do want to win. So it depends on the game. But like Quelf, like you mentioned, that game is so ridiculous. That is pure activity because it's just like you're doing things for absolutely no purpose. If you don't have a purpose, there's no game. So, yeah, it depends on the game. If you don't have a purpose and you're not invested in winning, not a game.
Interesting. Jeff, what are your thoughts on that?
I have to admit, I think it's pretty blurred. Like, it's hard because I know. I remember on the drive to Origins, me and two friends were talking about even what is a game, right? Like, how good of a game? Like, obviously, everyone agrees that like a great, amazing, everyone's favorite, BGG game. Everyone agrees it's a game. But then there are games out there that some don't even think are a game because they're either too luck based, or they're too silly, or they involve too much poop. And so, like, for a lot of reasons, I think the lines are blurred. But I love. It's more of a like, why categorize? Like, if it's fun, and people play it, and it draws a crowd, and people are laughing. So I can't really. I would just say like it's a game and it's an activity and it's a toy, or it's neither of them. It's a little bit of
The
everything.
most non-answer.
Yeah.
No, because it's true. It's true for my games that like
No,
sometimes I make a game that's more gamey. Like, like there's some thinking involved. You're like, But
Yeah.
then sometimes I make a game that you just, you're blind and you're stacking things, and like it's hard to categorize it as much as whatever people are having fun with.
It's
But do you
interesting.
think
Jess,
people would be as invested in stacking stuff if there wasn't a winner?
I mean, I want to say yes because I know when I play it, it's not really about the win. It's just about that momentary experience. I'm sure that you might find that with some other party games where you could be losing and still having a blast. You could be winning and not having fun. It's kind of weird that way, right? But in a way, the points sometimes feel like they don't matter. Like even Time's Up. We play Time's Up at night, like you're saying at some of those shows, and you don't care if you're not winning. You're just laughing.
You just want to laugh, yeah. And plus, you win as a team, so that's always a bonus. You can just rub it in the whole other side of the table's face. All right. Yeah, that's interesting. Actually, you know what I'm really curious about is playtesting.
Oh, that's
playtesting.
That's a question from the audience too. Eric asked.
Oh, awesome! Because I had a couple interesting thoughts about playtesting, and so I was kind of interested in both of your takes. So I'd like to talk to you guys a little bit about some of the interesting things that come up trying to playtest a party game, but I'm actually really curious right now, is it better to playtest with new groups, or do you actually find it better to playtest with the same group again and again?
Well, I kind of like doing a combination of both because, like the other night I was at the Snakes designer night and I had another designer, Tim Brown, play one of my games that he had played previously, and so it was good to see what he thought because he's seen it evolve, he's seen it change, he saw a previous iteration. I mean, that's true for really any game, but me in general, I do like to test my party games out on my family first just because they are my target market, and it's just really easy to get their reaction really quickly to see if it would even work before I bother other designers at playtesting events. But yeah, I don't know, Jeff. Like, what do you do?
You know what? I wasn't sure, but then when you mentioned your family, I 100% agree. My mom, my dad, my sister, even if an uncle and aunt are visiting, they are usually my favorite playtesters because, like you said, it's your target audience, right? If my sister who likes board games, if she can like it, and my mom who wouldn't touch, who thinks Dominion is too complicated, then I know I have something. If they both enjoy it, then I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool, right? It's not too difficult. It's accessible, and everyone's laughing. And I think I could tell very easily if my family is bored. So that they won't. In a way, they won't be mean to me, but they won't lie to me.
Yeah, I will admit that one of my favorite videos ever was of Jeff's mom playing the unicorn game.
Yeah,
the unicorn drawing game. That was hilarious. That was too funny. Yeah.
Nice. I hope she's watching this. She'll be so embarrassed now.
That's great.
You're famous, Mom.
Lots of good questions here. So, Sean Jackson says parlor games are activities with game mechanics, and that kind of goes back to that whole idea of is it a game or is it an activity? And I think a lot of the people in the feed are saying it doesn't matter as long as it's fun. Jesse and I were talking about But Wait, There's More the other day. But Wait, There's More is often, a lot of people really like the scoring mechanism in it because it stops favoritism, it stops a whole bunch of things. But generally, even if you really like it, if you like the game, you're not going to score it because it doesn't matter what the score is. Everybody wins just by having, fun pitches and things like that. So it's this weird thing, and I don't necessarily think that the BGG crowd, in general, there are definitely people in there who like party games, but to get a party game into the hotness or to get the party games highly rated, that's just not the space for it, right? And definitely hobby is a hard place to get the publishers to be vested in a party game, even if it's a good game and even if it's designed by a top-tier designer. I don't think party games and hobby publishers or the hobby imprint side of that publisher necessarily mix well. What are your thoughts on that in terms of, say, Smirk and Dagger making Smirk and Laughter now because of they had to rebrand, right? Or Hasbro versus another, smaller publisher that makes really fine, highly crafted, Euro games, but what are they doing making a party game? Is there space there for somebody to come in and really do high quality party games? Or is that where social deduction games get their popularity in the hobby field because they're kind of party-ish, but not, outrageous, doing silly things party-ish? What do you think? I'm gonna stick that one to Pam.
Sure. I think I might add a T to the end of my self system, so it's me selfed system.
Nice.
And the T is for thought. So this is like, I kind of picture this as like they range, like the levels of the different elements do range. So a game that's purely laughter, but doesn't have any thought to it, that might not be my jam. But the games that are more like Werewolf and those social deduction games where there is a lot of thought happening and it's not just purely silly, then maybe more of that on that end of the spectrum, people could get more into it, that are more into those games that make you think and challenge you mentally. That's where maybe the gauge could happen. It is still a party game, but maybe the laughter part is down a little bit, but the thought part is up a bit more. Social interaction is still high. Easy to learn might be a little bit lower. So it's on that scale, maybe it's possible.
We have people saying felts and lefts for the FPS and FELTS, so yeah, it doesn't have to be selfs.
This is so funny. Where's this mystery chat? I'm talking to like...
it's actually on Facebook. It's on Facebook. Yeah.
That's why Sen relays it for us. It's great.
Yeah, this is great. It's like...
I think you should add a D to your thing, because I think that draws attention is part of what I feel like makes a good party game, right? Like people are looking at you, like we mentioned earlier, and people want to say, like, what are you doing? Like, what is that? But to answer Sen's question, which I've actually forgotten, I had it a second ago. Repeat your question.
Oh, I don't even know what I said. I rambled on.
It's the idea that
publishers.
Publishers, and maybe there's I don't know if it's the wrong space or a tiny bit of elitism or both, as why kind of party games are not necessarily, or why people have to do alternate imprints. Is there something about party games in the hobby market?
I get the impression that from what I'm hearing from a lot of publishers, I think a lot of them want to move into party just a little bit more, into family/party. I'm noticing that more and more, even the ones who are very serious about their super strategy games, or it doesn't have to be strategy, but stuff like that, because I don't know what the reason is exactly. I don't think anyone says it, but I think it might be because of sales. Like, to be honest, party family games, they're, hundreds of thousands of units sometimes, where it's hard for, unless you're the hottest strategy game on the market, it's hard to get those kind of sales, and that's, for a publisher, that's the bottom line.
Mm-hmm. Even, Academy Games, Uwe's company, with all the really, strategic, well, they're not super strategic, they're not like super war gamies, but you know what I mean. All the battle games that he has in Academy line, he's even thinking about, wanting to start a very family-oriented line. Now he's just become a grandfather, so that might be part of it. But it's also probably that thing like you're saying, there's more untapped market, there's the constant sales of maybe smaller ticket items, but it's constant. And you're pushing units and you're pushing units, as opposed to kind of that sink or swim sales with hobby strategy games. So I don't know. I'm just wondering if more people are going to see some light in and life in that kind of area. I definitely know that there's companies that have had trouble trying to say, can we do this? Is it going to be something we can make? And trying to do a party game as a hobby company, and just finding they don't have, or didn't have at the time, the right avenues into where that product really needed. Be more of a
lot. Like, look how many games that are not just, mass. Like, I mean, you're seeing a lot more games from, like Panasaurus has stuff going in there, and like people that we would have thought of as predominantly being hobby are on Target. Do you know what I mean? So, what I'm curious about, and maybe this is where they're going, because I have heard a lot of publishers, especially this year, saying that they are trying to start up some sort of family line or get into that family arena. And maybe it's just that new venue of, a new way of having intro games. So we talk a lot about, games, the gateway games, right? But they still tend to be a little higher than some people are used to, or they're not. Well, now obviously they're way more accessible in terms of like where you can buy them, but they weren't as much before, right? So you need something in front of people's face to kind of say, I guess branding is becoming much more important too, that if you're getting somebody into a game, more likely they might check out the rest of your line if they enjoy it. Then they would have never even knew you existed prior. So I think there's definitely a whole audience that they're realizing is out there. The question becomes is how they position themselves to get it there themselves.
We are starting to get a bit of a backlog in the chat questions.
Oh, let's go to chat questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
What's up?
So first is Niles Breacher. What do you think separates good from great party games? Jeff, why don't you start us off on that?
Good plus great. Replayability. I just go over, because a lot of these games, like, I have to be honest, so we were talking about toilet games earlier. So, like, I own Toilet Trouble. And I played it with my family, like, back in the day, like a year ago. And to see my dad get squirted in the face from a plastic toilet was amazing. Like, and he was angry. He wasn't even, like, laughing angry. Like, he was like, I hate this game. And me and my sister were, like, laughing so hard. But we like never played that game again. So even though it had that great payoff, there was no replayability. So I don't know if I even can say that's a good game, but I think replayability would make a great game. Like all the games we mentioned earlier, those ones, we want to play them over and over again.
Yeah. And I think, as you said, that's a gimmick too, not necessarily a game.
Oh.
Right.
Getting elitist.
Well, no, my 6-year-old thinks that game is like the best thing ever, but it's a toilet spraying you in the face. If it was literally just a squirt gun shaped like a toilet, he still would have liked it, right? It's the same thing is happening, right?
So it's a good transition into the next audience question comment. Eric, following up on our previous discussion about hobby and party games, asked, do you see a disconnect between hobby and party, with the former often being about proving who's the best and party being less concerned with winners? For example, a Euro is about proving who is the smartest in the room, while a party game where everyone is trying to make jokes or pitches isn't really about proving who's the funniest person. What do you think, Pam? Do you think that's the sort of heart of the issue, or is there more to the difference between hobby and party?
I don't know about that. Because I know that, Balderdash, one of the great things about it is that you get to be funny and you get to make people laugh and you feel like you are rewarded for making the funniest or most creative thing, being rewarded for being the most creative, having the most creative answers. But I mean, yeah, that's not the goal of it. Wouldn't be to sort of prove that you're better or smarter or funnier than other people. It's all about the group experience. Yeah, so I'm not really sure. To me, the biggest difference between a lot of the hobby games and party games is just the connection and even just the eye contact with the other people at the table. And maybe that is why some publishers are thinking about branching out, is that a lot of games, you're just looking down, you're looking at your area, you're focusing on your pieces, you're thinking about what you're going to do. You're not even worrying about the other people at the table, giving them any thought. So maybe they want to expand their line to have other games where the players are connecting with the other people at the table. So yeah, I'm not really sure about the trying to be the fun. I mean, I don't know. I'm not really sure. Jeff, I'll throw that over to you.
I think I agree with the sort of statement, which is, when I play a strategy game, I am kind of trying to prove I'm the smartest guy at the table. Like, in a way, that's what we're all trying to do, right? When you win, in most cases, that's how you feel, right? And that's why actually, I'm sure a lot of strategy guys don't like luck, too much luck in their game, right? Because you want to be like, hey, I've earned this win. But with party, you could still be the funniest guy in the room, and you might even still win, but everyone had a blast, and it's I don't know. It is. I think it's a true statement. It's mostly about experience rather than having the best brain.
And I think you guys have connected two ideas we've talked about now. Is maybe that is the disconnect with hobby and mass sometimes is there is a sense of feeling the smartest, and sometimes there's a sense of being, almost like the dumbest in a party game. And what a polar difference depending on what kind of gaming group you're playing with. Like if you play with the same gamers that you pride yourself on just like trouncing each other because I'm the best, I'm the smartest, that's a completely opposite feeling in certain party games. So, but I think Pam made a good point of Balderdash is a very thought-based one because you're trying to do something that's not just funny, but someone might actually still think it's true. Mm-hmm. Right? And so there's an element of realism to it that I think is interesting where you're walking a fine line, and I think that intelligence level is there.
Right.
So maybe that's why it stood maybe the test of time of it. But hey, people like Twisters still. So, like, it's what kind of experience are you looking for?
If you don't challenge, if there's no mental challenge at all, I don't think that'll stand the test of time.
I think there has to
be. Have you been to Toys R Us? I think I see a lot of games standing the test of time.
That don't challenge you at all mentally?
Yeah, not Toys R Us. Maybe that doesn't exist anymore. But
I'm gonna stick with Twister.
Yeah,
it's funny bringing up Toys R Us as an argument for standing the test of time.
Well, hey, it's still in Canada, so the rest of you, I'm sorry, the Toys R Us is gone. You can come visit Canada. It'll be super expensive, but you can still see it.
I was just there. It was cool.
Yeah, so I was going to ask about Clunatics. No, not Clunatics. Sorry. That's the game that I made. That other one.
That a subtle
other
drop
game.
there.
No. The one that was sold at Starbucks, and I'm losing my brain here.
Cranium.
Cranium. So Cranium's big selling point was you never know how amazing your friends are, right? They wanted the game to showcase your friends have cool talents and have cool abilities and know neat things and can do cool stuff. And so that was a neat way to sell a game, was the idea that this game will showcase how unique and fascinating each of you are. And I think that was a really neat way of tying into that experience. And I don't necessarily know if that is a hobby experience, right? Like when you talk about the hobbyist, I want to win, I want to beat this score, I want to dominate this playing field, and in a party game, it's let's all have a good time. That's very, very, a different feeling. And it's kind of funny because one of our games had this real knock against it in the gamer end of things, where it's like, yeah, this rule won't fly. We had this spirit of the game rule, where it wasn't really a rule, it was just more of an understanding that, if somebody flubs, let it go. If somebody, says 4 words instead of 3 words, it's okay. And a lot of the gamers like, no, it's 3 words or nothing.
I changed my rules.
Right? That kind of thing. So it's kind of interesting to get that feedback from them. Here's a question from Jamie Jones. Jamie asks us, when designing a party game, do you ever consider part of the audience with some form of disability? Either a physical impairment that may make an acting style hard, or a mental disability that impairs imagination, etc., etc. That is a great question. And if you ever read the blog Meeple's Like Us, I believe it's Meeple's Like Us, where they tear games apart for disability reasons, and they don't tear them apart to be mean, they just kind of break them down and say, is this accessible, is this not? I think that's a hard thing to do for all people. I mean, they basically ripped Junkard apart and said, yeah, nobody with a physical disability will ever play this. It's like, yeah, you're probably right. And as an occupational therapist,
game, right?
I think that's, sad, but also that's the game, right? That is the game and the nature of that particular game. So it's interesting to think about how could you make party that right? And so if you're forcing somebody to have a challenge like their memory or their physical skill or the speed at which they can do things or their dexterity, then what happens when somebody already has a limitation? So that's a great question, Jamie. I really appreciate that. What do you think, Jeff?
I guess, not every game's for everyone. I mean, even if you don't have a physical disability, I know some people who just don't like we were talking about Happy Salmon. Some people don't like being touched, right?
Yeah.
If you're antisocial, there's a lot of social games that won't work for you. And on the flip side, sometimes party games work better than like a strategy game because it happens to touch the things that you're comfortable with. That maybe a strategy game you won't be comfortable with what's happening in a 1 hour, 2 hour strategy game. So I kind of say sometimes it works. Like I always think about color blindness because I think that comes up a lot. That's not exactly as the same thing as you're saying, but that is definitely a disability that some people struggle with. Mm-hmm. And but other than that, it's hard to sort of do something for everyone. But so I don't know. What about you, Pam?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's definitely good to have these things in mind. I don't know if it's where I jump off from, but it's definitely something to keep in mind, especially color blindness. Always try to keep that in mind. But would be a good challenge though to take that and to think of a game based off those ideas and that framework. I haven't done it, but that's a really good challenge to take on. But one thing that I do notice, a lot of my games are very heavily word-based and English language-based. So I would like to challenge myself to make a game that's not dependent on language and reading the words. But it is definitely tough to cater to everybody. A lot of party games do have physical challenges and moving around. It's definitely something to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm. John Dubois had a really good point here just on this whole note. He said that I think in a lot of gaming spheres, especially with party games, having games that are inaccessible in one way is not a problem as long as A, those games are accessible in the ways that they can be, and B, not all inaccessible games are inaccessible in the same way.
Yeah.
So as long as there's options, right? I think that's a great way to look at it, John.
Yeah, I think A is why game designers of all stripes and all kinds should attend to color blindness. Because there's no good reason not to, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just choosing your color palettes smartly. And so every game can be colorblind friendly. But dexterity games can't be friendly to people with disabilities that make engaging with pieces and placing them precisely incredibly difficult. We wouldn't expect that of junk art. That said, I think that Pam, I don't know, you weren't calling for everyone to do this, but I actually think it's a really good design challenge that maybe we should all take up in some way, is to identify a vector of accessibility and challenge yourself to design a game that satisfies that kind of accessibility, to work towards an industry where we do satisfy John's second point, which is that not all games are inaccessible in the same way.
Yes.
Yeah, so like Nyctophobia.
That would be a cool event.
Yeah, like Nyctophobia is friendly for people with vision impairment.
Oh, well, Jeff, that would be a good event. I'm going to talk to Scott Nicholson about that. I'm going to write that down. Because I have a whack of Panda stuff to run a game jam, and Scott's class would be a perfect place to do that.
Oh, good. Get like deeply embed this concept into the minds of the young and future generation of game designers.
Yeah.
I would love to even do that as like an online challenge to each other one day, right?
Yeah.
Just like, hey, let's pump out a game that works for this particular disability, and then that'd be interesting.
All right. I'll go through Meeple's Like Us this weekend, and I'll go through their accessibility teardowns, and I'll make a little chart that breaks down the ways in which games tend to be the least accessible.
I mean, we can always contact them as well, too, right?
Yeah, but this gives me an excuse to read the whole blog.
Yeah, right, and get John involved, I think. John's a good guy for this.
Yeah, we could have them online, and let's make something of this. This is cool.
Yeah, sounds cool. Good ideas, people. Wow, it's 9:54.
We got 5 minutes left.
Any last questions? You want to go through?
I think we have a promise to live up to.
Yes.
Jeff, could you please spend a couple of minutes telling us about the game you are the most excited about at the moment?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and ironically, probably my one non-party game, my non-family game. I have a strategy, deck-building, dark fantasy game on Kickstarter right now. So if you just happen to be watching, you didn't know that, go check it out. It's called Draconis Invasion. and it's the Wrath expansion. So Draconis Invasion Wrath. You'll find it on Kickstarter. It's a beautiful game. Really good reviews and ratings, and people love it. I've heard people say it's their favorite true deck builder, and it's a cool game. I check out the page, and I've been working on this for about 2 years. Strangely enough, in the background as I work on party games, like my passion project is to work on this game, and yeah, and it's out on Kickstarter. We've already, I think we're like 325%, and we still have like a week left or a week and a half left. So yeah, could use the support, even though this whole thing is about party games.
It's still a good time.
If you don't
right?
you want something that's not poop, then this is like my only non-poop game. So go for it.
That is the best endorsement ever. Want non-poop? Buy this.
You want dragons? We got dragons. You want poop? Talk to me next year.
What if we want dragon poop?
Dragon poop. Oh, that was Kathleen's.
Ooh, that's pretty
Yeah,
good.
I was like,
Dirty
Cat-
Dragon?
They already have a unicorn. They have unicorn poop games. I don't think I've seen a dragon poop game though.
There was going to be one.
I mean,
it's been slightly rethemed, but there was going to be one.
Oh, okay.
yeah, Kathleen Mercury. Is her last name actually Mercury? Or is that like her?
She legally changed it. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, Kathleen Mercury had a game where, yeah, dragons were flying around pooping, weren't they, Erica?
So
or was it just birds?
So it was pigeons pooping,
Right,
dragons pooping,
right,
dragons racing. 'Cause I
right.
think that was Travis's veto.
Maybe
Nice.
it'll come back to dragon poop. That'd be cool.
That means
I don't
the
know.
market space is still wide open. That's all I'm saying.
Guys, poop is wide open.
Dragon poop.
Have things poop.
That's the hobby party hybrid right there.
There you go.
That's poop.
That'll be my next expansion for Draconis
Oh.
Invasion.
I was gonna say, there you go. Combine the two ideas. Now you have pooping dragons.
There we go. All right.
You're one of the backers. Get ready next year. Dragon poop, the expansion, the Draconis Invasion.
You heard it here. A promise on Meeple
party
Syrup is a
game.
promise you don't have to keep.
Yes.
Put it on BGT. Just enter it. New
Well,
title.
Evan Derrick has still not made a game that is only playable by 5 people. That was like 3 years ago. He promised he'd do that on the show, so I still live up to that
You keep
promise.
track of these promises.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I have a mind like a steel
Like-
trap. So when it comes to
We should
making other people live up to their promises.
we should bring him back. Take him down.
Oh yeah, of course.
Challenge them.
You should do a whole
100%.
series of people. Bring them all back and be like, did you do this yet?
This is like
So
a
there are
New Year's
quite a few
resolution
people,
show
yeah.
waiting to happen.
There you go.
Actually, yeah.
Post it and shame them.
There you go.
Calling him out.
Jeff or Pam, do you have a question for each other while we're here with 3 more minutes to go?
Oh, you stumped him.
Achievement unlocked.
There you go.
All right, Pam, I'll ask you a question real quick. What do you ever feel like it's hard to fit in the board game world? Because party games, I feel like a lot of the designers I meet, not everyone's making party games. So
Yeah.
is that ever hard, or how do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's why it was so great to meet you. Because I'm like, yay! Another party game designer who actually playtests games and really takes feedback and develops it and does the whole iteration cycle and right. Because there aren't very many of us. So it is, I like to rep party games as much as I can because I feel like a lot of designers, they might poo-poo it a little bit, just to stay on theme. And so I like to definitely raise the profile of party game designers that we're not all just like trying to make $1 million and just trying to have a hit that is not well tasted. Oh, right, all right. So, nice to have known you. So just in general, I like being vocal about party games and designing party games and the thought that goes into them. But in general, we there aren't very many of us. I'll throw it back at you. How do you feel about it?
I think a lot of it's just internal. Like I kind of make like a barrier there. Strategy games and Euro games and that whole thing. So sometimes I'm like, I wish I could do those. Not that I can't, but you know what I mean? Like maybe I can't. But there is this, I sort of create this feeling of like that is a different level than what I'm doing. I have to sort of get past that sometimes, like get past it and be like, wait, I like what I do.
Yeah.
And, you know,
It's not better, it's just different. It's a different area, a different genre. Yeah.
Yeah, because like you said, like we talked about earlier on the BGG, like on BGG crowd, they don't always accept party games, so sometimes it feels a bit like, oh.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, they don't get the respect. Don't get the respect.
Easy there, Rodney. That's pretty funny. I'm gonna ask you guys a closing question. So we'll start with Jeff. Jeff, what is one piece of device? What is one piece of advice that you would give to an aspiring game designer who wanted to get into designing party games?
Okay, one piece of device that I would do. I have to remind myself of this. I looked at my notes recently, and I have to remind myself of this every once in a while, which is I spend a lot of time in like the hobby world, and so I'm always looking at other hobby games, and I take a lot of inspiration by just walking around a toy store, or like I was just at Mastermind recently, and I feel like when you look at all these like cool, fun things that you know obviously are mass, like families play, kids play. I feel like as advice, it would really inspire a person, especially, I mean, even if you are just like a hardcore game designer, you know, a non-party game designer, and you want to go into that realm, when you start seeing some of the, you know, stuff in the toy realm, you're like, oh, hey, I think I could do something with that. Oh, that's really cool. Oh, those wooden bees are really cute. I think I could do something with that. And I think that's where I get some of my inspiration.
Cool. And Pam, what about you? What is the singular piece of advice that you would give to up-and-coming game designers who want to start making a party game?
Yeah, I would say in general, play as many games as you possibly can in a wide variety of genres. Every possible game that you can get your hands on, play it. Don't just focus on party games. You're going to be a better party game designer by researching and playing and learning about as many possible games as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. All right, any last questions from Erica?
No, I think that's it because we're running over time now.
We are over time.
Totally.
We're in the bonus round.
Ooh, bonus
Nice.
time.
All right.
Injury time. We're in injury time.
Eee, sounds dangerous. All right, well, we better call it a night then.
On some poop.
Ooh.
Call back.
Oh,
Call back. I mean, it all circles back to the poop aisle, doesn't it?
Really.
All right. So, on that note, everybody, thank you for tuning in to our first episode of the new season. It was a great party time. It was fantastic having Jeff and Pam with us.
What are we doing next week?
Next week, I believe next week is cons, isn't it?
Cons.
Yeah.
Running cons.
Next week is cons, but this week is not yet over. Tomorrow we will have a party game related pro tip. We might have to squeeze Pam and Jeff for a few more minutes to get something out of them off stream to share with you guys. Draw on the expertise while you have access to it. And on Friday, we were going to try and get Eric Slauson live with Sen and I to chat a bit more about party games. So party time tonight might be over, but the party week is not yet closed. So say goodnight, everybody, and we will see
Did you just
later.
start singing a party song?
No, I was singing Wayne's World. Party time, excellent.
Oh, okay. I was going to sing, my girl wants to party all the time. But
that.
you guys are way too young to know what that is.
What song is that?
That's like Eddie Murphy from the 80s.
It is Eddie Murphy. That's what I just said. Little Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, little Eddie Murphy. All right. So, Pam, where can we find you on Twitter or anything? How can
At
people reach
Party
you?
At Games.
At Party at Games. Jeff, where can people find you?
KejiToys.com. You'll find some
All
stuff.
right.
Cool.
And, of course, you can always find Erica, myself, and Jesse on other things.
Yep. All right.
All the things.
Cheers, everybody. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.